So, as my luck would have it, they released the Dataslate right when I uploaded the video of the Onager, and spoiler warning, the Onager does get changes this Dataslate, but c'est la vie, I'll take it. So for those of you who are not watching the Onager video yet, a lot of what is in that video is still prevalent. It'll just be the changes to the weapons that the Onager can take that's going to change, but we're going to go over all the changes here for AdMech because they are huge. Right off the bat, let's talk about the big and the bad Belisarius Cawl. He is becoming pretty monstrous, and I think the dream came true about him being actually useful and a threatening unit. Basically what he got was that the Canticles of the Omnisci ability now apply in your command phase until the start of your next command phase. That's when you choose them. I believe they used to be battle round, like 90% sure. The next one is he got a complete rewrite to his reroll hit rolls of 1 aura. So instead now, at the start of your command phase, you can select one unit from your opponent's army. Until the start of the next command phase, they are your Machine Vengeance target. Each time a model would make an attack against your Machine Vengeance target, you can re-roll the hit roll. Basically just Oath of Moment. Like, no, not just. It is Oath of Moment. It's just in Cawl. So he basically gives you an army rule, which is kind of insane, to be honest. The synergies here that we can go over are just bound. Like, there's too many, right? Like, off the bat, last chickens can get the reroll hit for their last cannons and try to fish for that sustain. The Onagers can try to fish for sustain. The Corpuscari can try to fish for sustain and lethals if they're being led by a Manipulus. There's just so much that you get from rerolling hit, and I think that this is a change that's really going to help the army that hits on 4s unless they're on a stance. And we'll get into the Doctrinas in a second, but it's kind of becoming the shooting army again. Yeah, so I'm ecstatic, like kind of at a loss for words, really. It's a huge change, and I think that this is going to be the stance that you keep on Cawl for the most part. The next change is to the Mantra of Discipline ability. This is the one where he emanates the battle line aura for you. He still does that. He just adds 1 to the objective control characteristics of model in that unit. So the good part about this one is that it doesn't say unless you're battle shocked. So if you are battle shocked and you would lose primary, if Cawl is in this mode and he's within 6 inches, you still have OC on that point, which is really solid. The other thing to take here is that your OC goes down to 0, gets pumped up to 1, right? So if Cawl is shocked, nothing happens. He still emanates that aura, and if the unit that is sitting on the point that he's buffing is shocked, doesn't matter because their characteristic is always going to be 1. So that is extremely solid in my opinion, on top of the fact that he is still, you know, the battle line projection, and this is the aura that he sat on for the most part. But with Invocation of the Machine Vengeance being buffed to basically just be an army rule, I don't think you really take this one anymore. I think it's very, very situational, but what I like is that should you not need those rerolls, which is kind of rare, but should you not need them, you still have this to fall back on, and I think that's incredible. Lastly, Shroud Psalm saw basically a revert back to Index, where it used to give you stealth and then it gave you benefit of cover. Now it's back to stealth. Is it still situational? Absolutely. I don't think this is one that you're going to go into 9 times out of 10, especially because of the reroll Oath of Moment basically being the best thing that he received. But it has its uses. It's not entirely useless now. It's just, right? So I'll take it. Absolutely. Cawl got fucking giga buffed. It's great. But we're not done, because he has changes to the Solar Atomizer, the Sun Ray of Friendship. So it went from Melta D3 just to Melta 3, but the damage characteristic changed from D3 from flat 3 to D6. Now, the best part about this change, in my opinion, is that he no longer has D3 attacks. He will always have 3, and while it is a nerf, quote unquote, to lose blast, Cawl is a monster, so he can shoot into combat with his Sun Ray of Friendship now. So that kind of increases his damage in melee as well. So 3 attacks, way more consistent. D6 damage, way less consistent, but being Melta 3, he's going to at least deal 3 if he's within Melta range, and a 9-inch Melta is pretty good. And he can still deal more damage potentially per shot. It's 50-50 chance as to whether he does more or less than he used to. It's just a solid buff, in my opinion. I think he's way, way better. So overall, Cawl is just like a massive winner. It's like, you can't understate how good he is now. The thing that he took for it, is that he went up 40 points, which I'm not going to complain because AdMech lists are already cheap as fuck as it is. So in my book, it saves my wallet, even though I'm really not buying AdMech models anymore. But for some of you out there, Cawl is auto-include. I don't think there's any situation where you don't take him. So he synergizes with so many parts of our army now. I don't know. It's hard to even try to think of a situation where he's bad. I mean, he still has low op, he's still tanky, he still heals himself, right? So solid. Can't stop gushing about this guy. Now, to throw my last upload into the dirt, the Erad Beamer got a couple of changes. So it has 3d3 attacks, so an extra d3 for attacks, which makes it a lot more consistent. Still the casino crab that we know and love, but the odds are way more in your favor. The focused profile went up to strength 10. That's a huge breakpoint for a lot of things. A lot of things are strength 9 in this game. So strength 10 will help you wound on 3s with things, and the focused profile is a lot more, I guess, viable with the Onager, because if you watch the video, it's tanky as shit. So it can absolutely make its way towards the front and start blasting people. The only thing that it took as a hit is it went from sustain D3 to sustain 1, so that kind of blows. I don't know, I like sustain D3, it's like the inner Gamba in me, I guess, but you know, no more crit 5s, I don't think. Personally, I think maybe if you're in focused range and you're really trying to take a tank out, maybe you can go crit 5s in Halo and still benefit from it, but D3 was just so much volume added to your attack. But now you have that on just every single time you attack. You just have an extra D3, which is huge. So really happy with the change to the Onager. Didn't go up in points. Super good. Alright, the beloved last chickens. Now, these guys are pretty cracked. So if we remember back to earlier days of AdMech, it was 1 attack with twin linked, and then they pushed it up to 2 attacks with no twin linked. So this is a change to both the auto cannons and the last cannon, but I'm really just going to be talking about the last cannon here. The last cannon kept its 2 attacks and now has twin linked again. So they compromised by giving you 2 attacks and taking away twin linked. Now they just said, fuck it, you get 2 attacks and have twin linked. So that is, again, massive. If we go back to Cawl rerolling hits on that target that they declare, you now get reroll hits from your last chickens from Cawl, and now you get reroll wounds from the last cannons having twin linked. So full reroll last chickens for being pretty cheap models to, you know, at least in terms of point cost, not in terms of price. This is insane. Like, I can see 2 to 3 last chicken breaks now. With the sustain 1, you already kind of liked this with the crit 5s buff from Halo's Creed, and now that you can reroll your hit, you can fish for that sustain 1. It's incredible. So it's really hard to just put into words how good these buffs are. For that, the Dunecrawler basically went up 5 points per model, so instead of 70, it's 75, and then, you know, 150 for 2 and 225 for 3. But the power boost they got for just going up 5 points is absurd. AdMech is absolutely coming back as the shooting army, quote unquote. Like, once we get something like Oath, but we shoot on 4s, I think we start compromising, right? I think at this point we're just like, okay, we're cheap, we have a lot of guns, and now we have ways to focus fire when we need to, right? And it doesn't involve just being in a stance. Next is a huge buff near and dear to my heart is the Sicarian Infiltrators. Their melee weapons are getting buffed, so the power weapon went up to 4 attacks, I believe, from 3. And then the Taser Goad, which is, in my opinion, their most optimal choice, went up 1 AP from 0. That is freaking huge. So Infiltrators are kind of the things that you shove into your opponent's face and make them, you know, just handle them with how tanky they are, and they'll get some hits in here and there. But having -1 AP on their Taser Goads, being able to push it to -2 with the Conqueror Imperative, they start to hurt, like, a lot. So strength 6 AP -2, damage 1 with sustain 2 possibly. Like, I don't know if you really invest crit 5s into these guys, but no longer are you just going to shove the guys and wait for them to die to your enemy just to stall their movement. Like, at this point, they kind of have to respect the fact that they're going to lose models if they go into an Infiltrator break or if you go into them first. So you are going to start taxing them rather than just stalling them. And I think that that's a huge change to the Infiltrators. They also didn't go up in points, so they keep basically their efficiency as good as they were already. In my opinion, they were the auto-include unit of our army. more so now. Like, it's really, really hard to not take these guys. Lastly, the last change is going to be to the other Sicarians, so it's going to be the Ruststalkers. These guys got a huge buff in my opinion. It's going to be the Transionic Razors. They went down from 4 attacks, I believe, now to 3, but they went up to damage 2. Now, that is doubling the damage for losing 1 attack. I think that that's huge. However, I made an entire video about comparing the blades to the razors, right? The thing that makes the blades so good is the fact that they are good into almost anything, right? They have a high volume of attacks and they have devastating wounds, which lets them go into really beefy stuff. Just as an example, I had a game where I was holding back a Demon Prince and I was just putting wounds into him, even though I was wounding on 6s. It didn't matter because they were devs, and I know that my Ruststalkers can move up and handle a threat like a Demon Prince, but I would never run Transionic Razors into something like a Demon Prince, right? This is better at wounding infantry because of the anti-infantry keyword, and it is better at doing it to things that don't have invuln saves because they're going to be at -2 up to -3 in Conqueror, and now you're going to be dishing out double the amount of damage. Now, you do have less attacks to try to get those through, so those are really going to matter when they have to go through, but if they don't, then you're just not making as much potential unavoidable damage that you can to your opponent's models. They're still very, very niche, but they're just like way better at that niche. So it is a buff. I'm not going to disregard that as like, you know, this is a big nothing burger, but I think that razors are going to shine if we go back to an infantry meta, but seeing that we're kind of in a tank monster vehicle meta, I think that the Transionic blades are still the better choice. So overall, people are saying that protector lists are kind of dead because Conqueror was already, in my opinion, the better choice because of that AP, because of that assault. It gives you everything you really want to be able to play an aggressive game of Warhammer where you're able to move into where you need to go and be a bit more threatening than usual. AP is always going to be a very good ability. Conqueror lists focus more on being on the back and just trying to shoot things off of points while slowly making an advance, and I think that that playstyle is still very valid. I don't think that Protector Imperative dies, but I do think that Conqueror is just exponentially stronger now. Cawl giving reroll hits to all hits, it's not ranged, it's not melee, it's all, while you're in the Conqueror Imperative makes up for the weaker ballistic skill that you would have in Conqueror, right? So any units that you maybe, you know, didn't want to use because that +4 really hurts, now you can take in a Conqueror brick. So a perfect example is the new buff to the Onager ERAD Beamer. You can now reroll the hits when you target something that you want to hit with an ERAD Beamer and not have to be worried about that +4 ballistic skill while also being able to fish for sustain, and then you get to keep the AP on top of that. Like, it is massive in my opinion. So Conqueror lists went way the fuck up. So did the Sicarian Hunter cohort lists, because now Cawl is able to just actually help them deal damage, where Sicarian Hunter cohort suffers from the I'm gonna shove stuff in your face and then not do anything with it, basically. I think Conqueror is the best, even more so than it already was in my eyes. But I don't think that like Protector is dead, you know. I think that it's just going to be a gameplay choice for the most part. I think that the stock of Last Chickens is back. Being able to get full hit rerolls with Cawl and then rely on that twin linked, and they only went up 5 points. Like, we're already in a vehicle monster meta, and that's why Disintegrators were so good. But with Last Chickens being this crazy, I don't think there's a reason why you don't take them, because both of them can benefit from it. The Disintegrator could point at a knight, and then if that doesn't finish it, the Last Cannons can point at a knight. So you're gonna get the best part of both worlds with them. Infiltrators are, again, amazing units. I don't think there's much that has to be said other than the fact that they're threats now that your opponent has to check. I don't think they're ever going to be going into your Machine Vengeance target because, you know, they're kind of more skirmishers that are going to be on the sides or stopping any advances that need to be important. But, hey, you know, at -1, potentially -2 AP on those Taser Goads, they have to respect your damage. And it's crazy to think that AdMech actually has damage now. But yeah, I think Onagers are going to start seeing a lot more play. ERAD Beamers are kind of cracked. They're not, like, super cracked, but, like, I think 2 Onagers, or maybe 1 Onager and double Disintegrators is still the thing that you want to do, where most people would cut Onagers once they try to like really optimize their list. I think that they are way more into consideration. Cawl is auto-include, chickens are heavily emphasized to be taken. There's so much potential with list building right now that it's pretty amazing. I know I've been critical of GW in the past about this army, and I still think that they deserve that criticism, because there are still things I don't like about this army, but it's been pretty clear that they've been making a lot of changes over time. I mean, our entire Dataslate page takes up the entire page, and this has been happening for the better part of 2 years. Now, I think that they've kind of learned their lesson that the army it was just not in a good place, and it is slowly getting to a better and better and better and better place. And I think that this is like 80%, 90% like where we need it to be. So, you know, as much as I like to criticize them for the things they do wrong, I should also praise them for the things they do right. And I think that they hit a slam dunk here. I don't think AdMech is broken by any means with this, but I think that the things that we were not able to do, which was predominantly damage, is starting to be covered here, at least by one focal point in our army that is able to give us that buff, and it makes Cawl feel like an epic character. So I mean, Cawl went from literal trash at the beginning of the edition to the best unit in our army, I think. So props, right? That basically covers the more important changes of AdMech. Again, speechless. This is crazy. I'm really happy. So I'm sure that I'm going to be going live and playing this, so I'll stay tuned for that. If you want to be notified of that, please consider liking and subscribing. That really helps the channel, and hopefully maybe the player pool of AdMech grows. That'd be really sweet to see more people come into our army again. Also, if you're interested in maybe starting AdMech or want to improve your AdMech, you can go over to my Patreon and you can help support the channel while also being submitted into a monthly giveaway where I give out a kit of your choice. Usually depends on the month whether I do like a combat patrol or whether I do just a normal $60 to $70 kit, and you could buy AdMech and help save yourself that terrible price point. That said, guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and I will see you next time. A special thank you to all my patrons in the Engine Seer tier, and a special thank you to the Fabricators with Sig Lawson Jr., Makito, Dr. Jones, Sekartor, 3x01, Rock'em Sock'em Robots, 7th Inquisitional Task Force, Megalio, Rising Grace, and Dr. Doggerino. Thanks a bunch, guys.